right, welcome to the Real Estate Huddle. This is episode 34, and we're excited to talk about 1031 exchanges today. And we are so lucky because we just had a visit yesterday from Tracy Wilson and Danita Vigil from IPX 1031 Exchange, and they're phenomenal. They're experts in the industry. Many people that are in the real estate business probably know them, right? Because they've taught many classes, continuing education classes, different things. April, you've taken like 3 classes from them.
I've taken a few, yes.
So they're the pros as far as that stuff goes, and so we heard from them yesterday. They really informed us about some of the details. We learned some new things. I've done 1031 exchanges with clients, and we've known about them for a long time. It's obviously a great strategy for real estate investments. But today we're going to talk about some of the new things we learned and some of the ways that people can apply these and save a lot of money with them. And so there are some tax implications, so we have to disclose up front. Just if you are looking for tax advice, like go and talk to your CPA, verify with your CPA, because we are not CPAs here. None of us in the room are. And so we're going to tell you what we know and how it applies to the real estate side of things, because we are expert real estate agents, all of us, and that's where our expertise lies. So just to get that out of there. But let's start talking about this. Who loves paying extra taxes and as many taxes as we could possibly pay?
As much as I can give extra.
Try.
That's where, that's the most charitable donation I can think of. So.
The bottom of your heart.
They're so efficient with their money.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, everybody, we should be honest with everything we do as far as that stuff goes. But it's good to know the law, right? It's good to know like where you can use programs like this to help you on the real estate side of things. And so let's just define it real quick. There's a couple different elements of it, but 1031 exchange. This is where you basically have an investment, a real estate investment that you're selling, right? And instead of just straight up selling this property, you're going to exchange it with another property, right? And so your proceeds, when you go to sell, they go into this basically 1031 account, right? That is held, and then they are applied to a purchase. And there's some rules around that, basically, that you have to identify the property within 45 days, which means like be under contract on that property, and then close it within 180 days after you've sold the previous investment. But that's the long and short of it. And the advantage is that you can defer your tax gains. So like anything that you've gained on that property, say you bought it for 300 and then now it's worth 400, you just sold it for 400, that gains can be deferred and kicked down the road so that you don't have to pay that immediately in this tax year. So pretty cool strategy.
Big tax.
Which is separate than like your individual home. When you own it, if you're married, filing jointly, you can have an appreciation of that home up to $500,000 and not have to pay taxes on that growth. Mm-hmm. But here we're specifically talking about an investment property, which is different. So This is something that you're doing to grow your wealth, and the government wants their portion of it. Mm-hmm. But the 1031 exchange allows you to defer those taxes, which I think is a great benefit. Yep. So that way you don't have to actually cash out 30-40% of your proceeds to move on.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, that's a big chunk. So.
Yeah, and some capital gains is like 15-20%. For real estate, it's 40%, which is definitely a big tax that you want to avoid.
Because there's a breakdown. So I think it goes down. There's the Colorado state tax you got to pay into Obamacare. It's got a percentage. So like when you add all of those details up, it gets to be in the 30-40% range, right? Which gets to be pretty expensive. So
yeah, yep, yeah. And this is straight just information that Tracy and Danita gave us yesterday. So obviously if you have specific questions to like all the ins and outs and rules, like I would highly recommend talking to them. They're true experts. Yeah, but like there's a couple other things that we learned yesterday, right? Like you can kick this down the road a few times, right? Not just once, but what some investors do is they'll sell an investment, 1031 exchange it to the next investment, and then maybe do that again to the next investment and the next investment. So they've never really paid capital gains on it, right? And then I thought that the only way to like eliminate it in the end was to die and have inheritance, like pass it on. But there's another way.
So normally it's when you pass away, your inheritance, the people who would inherit all your investment properties, they go to a stepped up basis. So they actually get an actualized value of whatever that property is worth at the time of your passing. So normally that's where the new line in the sand is drawn, and then those deferments of those taxes will kind of wash away. So you pretty much had to, pass away to make that a realization. Now, yesterday we learned that there was something very interesting. So the application that came to my mind is somebody who, let's say in 5 years from now, they want to downsize and retire in a retirement community or retire in like a mountain property. And it's Colorado. That's a very key option there. You can buy that property as an investment property and rent it out. They 12 to 24 months, and then move into it. And if you live in it from 2 of the last 5 years, you can actually turn that back into a personal residence and convert it from an investment property back. And that's where, if you're married filing jointly, you can nullify $500,000 worth of capital gains. I did not know that was a possibility, but I will be taking some extra CE credits to get all the details on that one, because that was a great opportunity.
I think it's new too.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because I think that's only, maybe I'm correct in that, but I think he said it's been the last couple of years that they were able,
So
that's kind of a new.
just drawing up the scenario, right? So like I buy a condo, right? That condo grows, does well. A few years later, I decide, you know what? I'd really like a single family house, right? So I sell that condo, and then I do a 1031 exchange into a single family house, right? Don't pay the capital gains tax because it's kicked down the road. Now I want to, I hold that for, let's say, 15, 20 years, right? It's a great investment for me. It grows a ton, and there's a lot of gains. But if I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting to like retirement age, and now I want to have a ranch type home, right? Single living. We call them ranches here in Colorado. Other places call them like ramblers and different things.
One-story living.
One-story living. I want to get to no stairs, right? And just have a house and have it be a place on the lake or something like that. I could then sell that single family home and buy another investment that is the home that I eventually want to go and live in, right? And rent it out for a couple of years, have it as an investment, and then convert it to my own residence. Just move in, and then you can defer all those gains. So that's really cool. We learned this from Danita and Tracy yesterday, and pretty awesome stuff where you can save a lot, as far as the tax situation goes. So interesting strategy.
No, I think that's a great idea, and I didn't know that was an option. So
I didn't either. Yeah.
We have to learn a little bit more about that. So
I think a lot of people don't know about this.
Yeah, no.
I think it's just now starting to get, out there
traction.
information. Yeah, because I think it's a really good strategy.
Because most people, as they get into retirement age, and if they had an investment property, this is, they could buy it ahead of time. But you're going to downsize and move into a different type of community, like whether it's one-story living or whatever it may be. So I think that's a great opportunity. So and it could be a good, as long as you rent it out for a period of that time. So I think they were saying 12 months is pretty close, but 24 is really generally what most people get. So talk to your CPA to get the specific details in your state.
Yep. And on the topic of like other options people might not know they have, I really like the potential to do a reverse swap. So you're able to take that property and find the one that you're going to buy before you sell your property. So just in a very basic sense, instead of having to sell your property and now you've got the timeline ticking to go find another property, you can identify the one that you want to swap into first and then have a qualified intermediary purchase it for you. And then once you're able to sell your property, the intermediary basically transfers the ownership of your new property to you.
Yeah. That's awesome. And why, like, just for our listeners, like, why would anyone want to do it that way?
Yeah. So, I mean, especially right now, let's say while we have inventory that's going down, a lower inventory situation, you might want to be able to identify that property that you're going to swap into first so that you don't have to worry about the timeline. So if you were to, let's say, try to do a 1031 exchange, you sell your property, and within that 180 days you fail to find your replacement property, you are on the hook for all of those taxes. And it's like the second that midnight switches over on those 180 days, it's no going back. You have to pay those taxes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and especially in a lower inventory market where you may not get the offer or get the home that you're looking at or the property that you're looking at. So it's nice to have that timeline and that pressure taken off, because
Yeah.
I guess with anybody, when you're making a big purchase, when the timeline and the deadline is there and is forcing you to do things, you maybe think a little bit differently than
Totally.
you would with a clearer picture without the pressure.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with the 45-day to identify, you get to identify 3. So you get up to 3, and then you narrow it down or choose. But I believe that pulls it off the market, though.
Yeah. Well, one
And it's kind of like a little bit, you know, if I have one of the 3, and they don't choose mine, I just kind of wonder
yeah.
what that looks like. But
Yeah, and I think that's why they give you that 180
Yeah.
days to close it and like
Yeah.
figure out the closing. But the identifying has to happen within that 45 days, and it has to be equal or greater in value. So that's one thing to realize is like
Right.
you may want to start small, right?
Yeah.
Because it's got to go up from there as far as your investment goes. So,
Yeah,
but
no cash can exchange hands. So that's why
Right.
IDX, they do a great job of holding the actual the
funds.
proceeds and the funds for you.
Yeah.
So that way there's no commingling, so you don't have to worry about that. So
they're that intermediary, right?
Yeah.
Which is good, and that's how the reverse works too, right? They actually purchase the property; they are the buyer in that scenario, and then once you sell your property, then they just exchange that money right from one hand to the other, and so
like immediately, like
Yeah.
within an hour
yeah,
of the closing. So
yep,
Yep. And then another option that was really interesting is mixed use. So a lot of people, like if they have a property where, say, you have a good amount of land, you're living there as your primary residence, and then you have like a barn or something else, or a cottage house that you're renting out. You're able to use the mixed use laws to be able to claim your own primary residence under your capital gains exemption, which is $250,000 if you're single, $500,000 if you're married, and then the rest of the property with that mixed use, if you've been using it for investment or income, you're able to 1031 that portion of the property so that you're covering yourself and protecting yourself from more taxes. So
so if you've got an accessory dwelling unit with you're renting out or any of that type of stuff, you can really section it off, and it's a great advantage. So you can divide up and parcel that out. So
Yeah.
same thing, people who work from home right off their office space and stuff like that, there's deductions for that. This is just taking it one step further and really dissecting the property that way.
yeah,
And one of the other things is, if you own multifamily and you want to exchange it, you can exchange it for a retail shopping center
Yep.
or land or, something that doesn't have to be in the same
category.
Yeah.
Yeah, the like kind is somewhat of a misnomer. So
Yeah. So you can kind of learn to
And-
kind of transfer into something else.
So owner occupied fix and flips are kind of excluded from this, but as long as
Right.
it's in the category of real estate, you're open there. So
It's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tracy and Danita are gonna watch this, and they might like slap us around.
well, maybe we'll get some CE credits.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
lawyer class. Here.
Hopefully we've explained some things so that people can actually understand it too. I know it's a lot of lingo with like 1031 exchange is such a big scary word, but like really that's all it means, right? In simple terms is you're just kicking your tax liability down the road so that you can pay it later and then pay it maybe never, right? If you convert it into a single family, like a principal residence later down the road. So
And this started from the barter system. So there was the person who actually started this 1031 exchange proposition was trying to exchange, some type of property for land or whatever it may be. So it was kind of the barter system. He was like, why should I have to pay taxes on the sale of this land?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the start of what this is, and it's just grown from there. So
nice.
And another use case is like if you want to increase cash flow for people who are investing. Like I have a client who I talk about all the time. He started out getting a 1-bed, 1-bath, lived in it for a year. He has a 2-bed, 1-bath. He lived in that. Now he's got a duplex where he's living in one half. So if down the line he wanted to consolidate, he could do a 1031 exchange and say, okay, I'm going to take my smaller properties and 1031 exchange them into a big multifamily development or something. either to simplify or to increase the cash flow. So there's other use cases as well where you can get an advantage with the 1031 exchange, not just sheltering yourself from tax if you're going to sell something.
Right. Well, and I think of the mindset, right, of the investor of like, why would an investor want to do a 1031 exchange, right? Like, why would he want to improve or she improve their investment, right? And I think in some cases it may be they're tired of maybe they're dealing with a lot of headaches as a landlord, right? And the type of investment they have is not producing like the longevity or the quality of the renter that they want to experience, and so they want to change their investor experience. That could be it. I think some people are hesitating doing 1031 exchanges because their interest rate is so low on their current one.
Right.
And that's a big deal right now. I think there's a lot of hesitancy to sell any investment because the interest rate is so low that you can't duplicate it nowadays. But those loans are eventually going to be paid off. And I think there's going to be a lot of 1031 exchanges happening when those low interest rate loans on investments get paid off in full. And so one strategy that some investors do is they apply any cash flow that they gain from the property back into the principal of the investment, right? So let's say you're renting the place out for $2,500, right? And your total payment, HOA, everything, all your expenses adds up to $2,000, right? So I have $500 a month in cash flow. They're just putting that $500 a month directly towards principal to pay the loan off faster. And once they do that, then they don't have to worry about the interest rate at all, right? In that case, and they can just go buy another investment that is equal or greater in value with none or like no loan or very low amount loan.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what you'll see more of in the next like 5 to 10 years is like an explosion of these 1031 exchanges for people to defer their gains.
I think so too.
Awesome. Any final thoughts, guys? We'll wrap this one up.
No, excited to get into more details on that with Tracy and IPX. They were really good. So
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they are the experts on 1031 exchanges, and CPAs are the experts on taxes. So I can't say that enough. I feel like we should have said that like every 2 minutes, right? But we said at the beginning, we said at the end, we are not tax experts. We are not 1031 exchange specialists, but we do like to share the info and point people in the right place so that they can know about these programs, right? And that's our job as real estate professionals. So hope you've enjoyed today listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.